member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes, and the chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. The Federal Loan Guarantee Program is exactly what it says. It's loans that are guaranteed by the federal government. Of course, that just transfers the risk of those loans to the taxpayers. As with any government subsidy, they reduce the market discipline of loan recipients. Recipients get the loan. They know the federal government's going to pay the bill if it fails, and when it fails, that's exactly what happens. Now, there's a checkered past of the Department of Energy's loan guarantee program, and it demonstrates that it is not immune from these concerns. As it currently stands today, it hasn't been reformed, it hasn't been revamped. We're just going to keep on loaning money. Among the most egregious examples of Title 17 loan failures are Solyndra, Fisker Automotive, and A123 Systems. All three entities received hundreds of millions of dollars in loan guarantees before filing for bankruptcy and leaving the taxpayer holding the bag. Filing for bankruptcy, by the way, because they produced things that the American people didn't want, but were forced on them. To add insult to injury, A123 Systems and Fisker Automotive were purchased by, you guessed it, Chinese companies for pennies on the dollar. You pay the bill, they get the money, meaning the CCP, the Communist Party of China, was the ultimate beneficiary of our tax dollars and the good people that are working hard every day to pay them those loans. Both companies also received subsidies from the Michigan state government under then Governor Jennifer Granholm. Now, you might not care about that because it was in Michigan. Maybe you don't live in Michigan where Fisker Automotive and A123 Systems were located, went bankrupt, took your money, and then were sold to the Chinese. But the integrity of these programs is heightened by the fact that Secretary of Energy Granholm's leadership position is now at that department and will oversee these loans. I urge adoption. I reserve the balance.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Madam Chair, I claim time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Much like the gentleman's last amendment, I respectfully think the result of his amendment would be the opposite of his intent. There is no new loan authority provided in this bill. Existing Title 17 loans, however, will be repaid for many years in the future. Eliminating the funding in this bill puts the ability of the government to receive these repayments in jeopardy. In my view, we must ensure proper oversight of this taxpayer funding. For these reasons, I must respectfully oppose the amendment.
Does the gentleman reserve his time?
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves, and the gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. I must disagree. The Inflation Reduction Act, so-called, I don't know if anybody's keeping score, but when I go to the grocery store since the Inflation Reduction Act, prices are higher. When I go to the gas station, prices are higher. It hasn't really reduced inflation, but that's another story. But since the Inflation Reduction Act provides approximately $11.7 billion for the Loan Program Office to issue new loans, we're going to keep going. We're just going to burden the taxpayer. We're going to burden the taxpayer with the potential for these loans to go bad, and they have gone bad. This additional funding raises significant concerns that the program will once again be used as a piggy bank for any administration and the Secretary to reward politically favored industries. Madam Speaker, my bosses, my constituents can't afford this continued grifting. We got to stop the gravy train for these failed green energy companies on the backs of taxpayers. If private industry wants to invest, God bless them. But the taxpayers shouldn't be forced to. I reserve.
The gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield to the gentlelady from Ohio, Ms. Kaptur, as much time as she may consume.
The gentlewoman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for yielding the time. I obviously rise in opposition to this amendment. If you want to increase fraud and hinder the ability of the federal government to quickly and efficiently interact with private businesses, then by all means, vote for this gentleman's amendment. However, I will vote against it because we must continue to invest in the manufacturing prowess of this country. We have to catch up. So many of our jobs were outsourced to penny wage environments in very undemocratic countries, and we lost manufacturing in small towns and big cities across America. So we are in a catch-up mode right now to domestic onshoring and reshoring of vital economic activities, including the manufacture of vehicles that all of us use to get to work and to conduct the business of this country. I urge my colleagues to vote for America against this misguided amendment, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back, and the gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I inquire as to the time remaining?
The gentleman has a minute and a half remaining.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. There you heard it. Continue to invest. Continue to invest. It's going to continue unless this amendment passes. We're going to keep on throwing good money after bad. We're going to continue to invest in Chinese slave labor. Understand the material that comes to make these batteries, even the material that comes to the United States of America, because, ladies and gentlemen, we don't produce any of our own material here. It's not allowed. It's going to come from slave labor in China. If that's not bad enough, the raw material is going to come from child slave labor in Africa promoted by the Chinese. You're going to continue to invest because you're going to be continued to force to invest in that. This is an easy one, Madam Speaker. The American people are sick of investing in these things that are immoral and unaffordable. I urge adoption, and I yield the balance.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized. Do you yield back your time?
I yield back.
Okay. The question is on the amendment offered